Hi, everyone. Welcome. Um, uh, this is uh, a busy day, I think, for most of us. And I promise. Hi, Denise. Nice to
Hello.
see your name and see you. And Joy and everyone. Thank you. Thank you especially for coming today. I don't usually read any of my own work, and I have mixed feelings about doing that because um, um, you may feel compelled uh,
Yes.
to to go out of your way to be nice or the reverse. But I really do want you to feel free to, to say what you think. Um, this is, uh, I may have mentioned this to you before, but um, I have a new book. It's a little chapbook, and it's a new book of old poems. And um there are a series of poems about my mother, and they have never appeared as a series before, and they are now a series, and I think they have found their final form as a series. But I wanted to read one of those poems, and I don't know. Um, I mean, it may be my favorite of the seven poems, but maybe they're all my favorite. Um, so I'm gonna read this poem, which is um my mother came to this country when she was maybe four, and lived on a farm in the Berkshires, and then moved to Brooklyn. And I was born in Brooklyn.
Wait.
Um, um, but
Yeah.
this is the sort of background for that, and it's my mother speaking the entire poem. The two horses, a memory. You had lunch in Pittsfield. Was it on North Street? That reminds me of when we lived on the farm. It must be 80 years ago. We went to a one-room schoolhouse. Didn't you drive past it once? Each row was a different grade. I sat in the first seat of the first row. The teacher's name was Miss Brown. She was so pretty. I wonder if she's still alive. The day before we left the farm, our cat disappeared. We couldn't find her anywhere. I was sad for weeks. 3 months later, she showed up at our new house in Pittsfield. Robbins Avenue. I can't think of the number now. My sister was in New York. She didn't like the people she was living with, so she'd visit us. She fell in love with the young man who lived next door. Morris, your uncle Morris. They got married and moved to Cleveland. They're both gone now, aren't they? You know, I can't picture her. A few years later, we moved to New York. This just jumped into my mind. I must have been 3 years old. We were still in Russia. Mir, a small town, but famous for its yeshiva. My oldest brother, Joe, took our horses down to the river. They were the two best horses in the town. My father had a phaeton, a beautiful old buggy. He was like a taxi driver. He took people to Minsk or Vilna. That day, he was at the station, the passenger station, waiting for customers. My brother was still just a kid. He must have been washing the horses in the river. I can remember. It was a hot day. Maybe he was giving them a drink. And while I was watching, the reins got caught around a pole in the river. The horses kept twisting the reins around that pole. It was slippery. The reins kept sliding down under the water, and they were pulling the horses down with them. I ran into town and got my father, who came running back with a knife in his teeth. He jumped into the river with all his clothes on. He took the knife and sawed away at the reins until he finally cut through. He saved the horses. I haven't thought about this in 1,000 years. It's like a dream. You get up, it's forgotten. Then it all comes back. Didn't I ever tell you? Look at me. I'm starting to cry. What's there to cry about? Such an old, old memory. Why should it make me cry?
Okay.
Um, well, um, any first responses? Um, um, um,
I just want
well,
to say
Glory, yeah.
I I read this for the first time this morning, so when you read it, it was the second time. And
Oh,
I just love it. I just
oh,
love it. And I'm not at this moment offering any particular critique, but I think it is so vivid and it absolutely captures how old people talk and how old people think. And it's
mm.
beautifully done. So we
Oh,
can,
thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I
Uh,
had read it several times, and each time
I
at the
do.
end, it makes me cry.
Oh, why? Uh, um, I mean, I'm glad. It
Because
makes
of the
me cry.
tenderness of
Mm.
it and the loss and the love. It's just a real big mix.
Yeah, it 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 still works that way on me too. Uh
I have
uh
a personal reaction to it
yeah.
just because it's right before Passover and I was
Mm.
sorting through family photographs to take to, I have an extended family Seder that's been going on for maybe my entire lifetime.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, and there are stories that are competing stories, and the truth of the stories has been lost. And
Mm.
all we have are these vague, partial memories, and
Mm.
one little side of a story one of us may have heard, and another side that somebody else heard.
Right. Right. And is there ever any kind of completion of those stories?
We're not sure. How can you be
Mm.
sure?
How can you be sure? Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone ever add something that you haven't heard before?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And Mary, did you have your hand up? Yes. Hi.
Yeah, hi. Well, like Ellen, I have a personal reaction to the poem as well, because it reminds me very much of conversations that I had with my mother when she was fading into dementia. And I'm sure that I can't help that from informing part of
Sure.
my reaction to the poem. But one of the things that I find so, I mean, I just find it so perfect and so utterly heartbreaking. And one of the things that I love about it and that I think makes it heartbreaking for me is the way that the monologue moves between certainty and uncertainty.
Hmm.
You know, there are the moments where something is known and stated, and then the moments where I wonder, or aren't they, or I can't remember this now, I can't see her face.
Yeah.
Anyway, for me, that movement back and forth, and just the beautiful directness of the language, I just love it.
Oh, what you think? Thank you.
Wait,
Thank
I
you.
think John P. and Sarah are want to
Okay.
add comments. Go ahead,
John?
John.
Yeah, what I love about the poem is just the poignancy of her facing her mortality. And that she knows it's very close to the end because she's asking, oh, is he still alive or she's still alive? And she's in that group. And how she faces it is just absolutely head on. And it's very poignant to see her do that.
Thank you. Yeah, that was my mother, all right. Um, um, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Sarah, yeah.
Um, two comments. One, it's even without you reading it, just from a structural point of
Hmm.
reference, the spacing, poets are so intentional with placement of lines. And
Mhm.
sometimes poets just like to, but the pacing of this, it makes you slow down to the unspooling of way back memories, the double lines,
Mhm.
or is it
Mhm.
one and a half? I can never tell. But anyway, there's this jump spacing in it. And that is the pacing of the thought process. And you have to take it that way to also get
Yeah.
the impact of your mother's memories, this woman's memories. The other thing that's really interesting to me is the little tell of the three cities, Mir and
Oh,
Minsk and Vilna, as if it, as the yeshiva is in there, but as if it wasn't, Yiddishkeit enough. There's this little tell of, three hugely famously Jewish cities from the way back. But I love the pacing of it. Even if you hadn't read it, that's how it comes across.
Good. Oh, good. Good. Catherine and then Nick.
First, I give you a sentence my mother used to say when she had read such a poem or other readings: "No tears, no good," which I think was from some New Yorker piece about the woman who wrote Ellen Muck something. I can't
Hmm.
remember. I also I like this very much. I like the fact that for those of us who are slow, you have another poem in it with the short lines, saying that sort of saying the highlights. Um, uh, what people remember? It must be 80 years ago. She was so pretty. I was sad for weeks. I mean, that's a high marks outline in some ways,
Hmm.
and it goes on. And I'm guessing that it's not so accidental. I'm just guessing that. I remember it was a hot day. He saved the horses. Did I ever tell you? I mean, did I ever tell you this before? And and a little story. My cousin Carolyn, who knew everything, And my son, who knew mostly everything, had an argument about whether someone named Ivy Cohen was related to us or not. And Ivy Cohen was the librarian at the Jewish Library, two floors above Commentary, which my uncle was the founder and editor of. And obviously that he had gotten her from Iowa to be the library in his library. Anyway, and I was told to go and listen to the New York City Public Library tape of Ivy Cohen. And to my knowledge, I never met her. And so I listened to the tape. We were invited only once to my uncle's house because my father's brother had married a non-Jew, and my uncle's wife didn't like that at all. And once we were invited to their Seder, and Ivy Cohen sat there. I remember her voice so vividly. And to me, it sort of ended the discussion. But that's an odd way memory works, too.
Nick, yeah, thank you, Kathy.
I'm not quite sure how to say this, but at 96, and having been diagnosed several years ago with early stage dementia, I'm trying to learn from this poem how to deal with it. But it is so perfectly accurate. Something I have never thought about, and something triggers it. And of course, I write poetry, and I try to deal with it, but I'm trying to learn more from this poem. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. You are 96?
93.
93. Bravo.
Yeah. So that's why I have another question. How would anybody know that this is your mother speaking? Because I thought it could have been me speaking in terms of the generational gap.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a practical question. You told us that she was the speaker. But in your series, is that clear?
Well, yeah, I mean, in this book, the title I gave the book is He Tells His Mother What He's Working On. And there's a poem, the poem that comes after this is the poem with that title. So it's pretty clear from the series. I think
okay, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I thought that's a very interesting question because it hadn't occurred to me, but that there would be any question. But I think when the first two of these poems came out, it was this one and the one called He Tells His Mother What He's Working On. And so it was sort of clear from that first publication. And I think the other poems in this set are much more direct about who is speaking and that it's someone's mother and probably mine. Oh, this is, I don't know how well you can see this, but this is an old picture of her from probably from about 100 years ago. She would have been in her 20s. And I love that picture.
Me too. We have Bill and Stephen who are waiting to chime in. Go ahead,
Good.
Bill Symes.
Oh, Bill.
Sorry, I had the audio turned off. Well, I'm like everyone else in admiring it very much and finding it very moving. I just wanted to ask 2 or 3 questions.
Sure.
One is to do with the equation of line and sentence. I wonder how you came up with that arrangement and what you were aiming at, because obviously we tend to think of using the intervention of line endings to break a sentence and lend salience or prominence to particular words as a quintessential poetic resource.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's one you didn't give up lightly, and I wonder what you take to be the compensatory gain. And I don't know whether you want me to bombard you with all the questions and then or let you answer as they come.
No, well, I'll remember that one. So
Okay, okay.
go
Well,
on.
the second one is to do with uh, the way in which certain moments in the poem, which I took to be quite uh, cleverly poised between possibilities, lost that ambiguity in the rendering. I'm thinking of something like, sorry, I
Hmm.
just must move this. Um, they're both gone now, aren't they? That tag question. When I was reading it on the page, I wasn't certain whether it was a tag question in the way that anyone might use a tag question almost assertively, or whether it was
Hmm.
taken to be a sort of an indicator of the uncertainty which assails those who are descending into dementia and
Yeah.
trying to cling on. And I thought when you read it just now that we lost the second of those possibilities. And I wonder whether there were moments in the poem when you were aware of ambiguities on the page which were going to have to be resolved one way or the other in vocalizing the poem. That's my second question. And the third one is that um, it seems so beautifully structured. I wondered to what extent it was quarried from a larger set of material. Do you remember the writing process sufficiently to be able to say how much you peeled away to leave what's there?
Yeah, I do actually. Um, these the, all of the poems in this series are writing them is still very vivid to me, even though it was, well, I mean, the earliest one was close to 30 years ago, and the most recent one is probably maybe 15 years ago. Um, so I do remember the process, and
Hmm.
the poems themselves um cohered for me as I was as I was writing them. I knew what they were going to include, and and um and it wasn't, it was somehow the bigger issue for me was making sure that her inflections were her inflections and not mine. Um,
Hmm.
and so I mean, it wasn't that I wrote them without revision, far from it, but it was a process of getting it to sound in my own head as much like her as I could get it to sound. Um, the yeah, I did not intend any ambiguity in the way I read it, in the way I read that passage about they're both gone now, aren't they? And I think, well, there is some ambiguity in her response. That is, she's pretty sure they're both gone, but she's not 100% sure. And she would have wanted me to confirm that my aunt and uncle had both died, had both passed away. But that she thought that was the case, but she couldn't be absolutely sure, and that she would kind of need me to confirm that her impression was correct. Your other question about the single line stanzas, the single sentence stanzas, um, is is something of tremendous interest to me, and of course I'm always delighted when someone else thinks about these poems in those terms. And I think in this particular poem, it more and more more and more of my poems have been structured in recent years have been structured as either sentence or short paragraph stanzas. And I think it has to do with my trying to get I don't know, imitation doesn't sound exactly like the right word, but I'm trying to reproduce something about the way I hear a thought process.
Hmm.
And in this poem, it's my mother's thought process, but there are some more recent poems in which the thought process is my own thought process, and that doesn't correspond. I mean, sometimes it does, of course, and I've given a tremendous amount of thought, probably too much thought, to line breaks. Um, but I think I think more and more in sentences and paragraphs than in lines than I used to. And and then they sort of look like my poems. And so that that's part of it too. So I can actually see on the page something that resembles the way I think.
Mm.
Stephen, you have your hand up.
Um, I was delighted to hear all the poems together when you had the little debut at the Grolier, and I knew most of them before, and hearing them together even changed the way that my ear tuned into the voices. You know, largely your mother's voice, your voice as a counterpoint too, and I kept thinking about two things: about trustworthiness, and then the mixture of the high and the low. So, so for example, in some poetry, I find sometimes in a poem a thrilling imagination in a voice that I don't fully trust. So that in the end, imagination gets undercut. It seems like this set of poems is all about trustworthiness, where there's no poetic gesture. Yet, because we so trust his mother's voice, we end up going to places we didn't expect. And then after I quickly called it up now, so I said it somewhat correctly. After hearing them, especially together, but this morning hearing this one especially, what popped into mind was speak memory of the cunning hero, the wanderer blown off course over time. Speak of all the cities he saw, the mines he grasped, the suffering deep in the heart of the sea as he struggled to survive and bring his men home, but could not save them, hard as he tried. So we have this tradition of somebody just saying, I'm going to tell you these stories. And there's lots of little twist and turn. And we want the stories to be successful. We want to be involved, but especially we want to believe them. And in this story, my questions are, well, what's at stake? And I love the fact that what's at stake is a cat. And then the bigger one, oh, two horses. But really, though we're not paying attention to this, what's at stake is not just this woman, but all of our minds thinking about what matters in my life. Will I reach to the place I need to go? Can I save what I think I need to save? You know, can I say what needs to be saved? And anyhow, I know you're writing it on the low, but it's echoing the high, so that we can hear all our stories in a bigger context. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Like Homer, had he been bar mitzvahed, maybe wanted to do something like this. So anyhow, thank you, Lloyd.
Could you write that down, please? Thank you, Stephen. That's wonderful thing to say. Denise.
Oh, thank you, Lloyd. I love this poem since I first heard it, and I've heard you read it many times before, and I've read it on the page. And as for the structural question we've been discussing about the lines and the line breaks, this poem has long seemed to me to be like a script for a dialogue in which half of the voices have been subtracted from the page.
Yeah. I see Mike and then Susan.
Susan actually got first, but didn't find her thing.
Oh, okay. Well, then Susan and then Mike.
Thank you. I'm on an iPad, so I can't find the damn hand. But I did not instantly understand that this was your mother speaking. And I was confused for quite a while. Who was speaking to whom? And it generated disturbance. It generated confusion in me and a kind of disturbance that I think mirrors the experience of losing your memory, losing track of where you are, all of the things that she's struggling with, that we're going to struggle with. I thought it was generated beautifully.
Oh, good. Thank you. That's certainly one of the major issues behind the poem. And it never occurred to me that someone wouldn't know it was about my mother, because it was, as I mentioned before, it was originally published with the poem that follows it.
Right.
And in all the other poems, it's explicitly my mother, but not in this one. But this one has never appeared by itself.
I see.
And I think even when I read it, I often read it with another one of the poems about her.
I see.
Or I'll just introduce it by saying, this is a poem in the voice of my mother.
What a gift.
Well, yeah, she was a gift. Mike, thank you.
Yes.
Susan, thank you.
So yesterday I was in a radiology office for a scan somewhat related to my mind being not what it was before I got COVID. But as I was sitting there, an older woman with two women about my age was, I thought, reading from a book about a quirky older character. And then a little later, I realized that no, she was the quirky older character who was using her own voice. One of these women, at least, was her daughter. The nurse had told me, yeah, take that back to your seat, but don't give it to her. Like she might make some sort of rabbit. She was complaining loudly about people going for their appointments before her, but also reminiscing and having her daughter and friend turn her back to the subject at hand or ask her what she thought about something she was asking them. It was clear that her memory had started to go, but she had a rich life and that she'd always been a loud and pushy character, but a friendly one. And I had something of that same sense listening to you read, like, oh, this is actually a character, and this is a literary work that's trying to present this character as a person. It was neat to see that kind of come together and a genuineness to the voice that I had just heard the day before.
Huh. Thank you. Hmm. Yeah, you're giving me so many things to think about. Susan, yeah.
Well, I'm just picking up on what was just said about whether we were aware from the beginning this was your mother speaking. And one of the poignant things for me was how you come to that single word, Maurice. She fell in love with the young man who lived next door. And then you said, your uncle Maurice. And it just suddenly brought you, the writer, the listener, the speaker, right into the relationship. And then the
Oh.
whole thing blossomed from there. So that is part of the magic of the structure and the flow of the poem for me.
Oh, that's so interesting, Susan. Um, um, that had to be, well, I don't know how subconscious that was. My uncle Morris, and the family called him Morris, but he spelled it Maurice. And so he was my mother's brother-in-law, and he was my favorite uncle. And my mother knew that. So what you are intuiting is absolutely the case, that there was something unique and special about him. And um, he was a trolley car conductor in Cleveland. And whenever we would visit the family in Cleveland, he was sort of my babysitter. And so I would ride on the trolley with my Uncle Morris. And I think if I went back to Cleveland, I could still tell you, oh, that's the Terminal Tower, and that's Cleveland Stadium, and that's the Art Museum, because all of those things were things that my uncle would tell me about while we were driving the trolley through, well, he was driving the trolley through around Cleveland. So that's very touching to me that you picked up on that. Um,
I
oh,
think
Dory, yeah.
Okay.
I have on the theme of the interplay of certainty and uncertainty, which somebody brought up at the beginning.
Yeah.
I have a small comment about how you created this. The most certain memory is the oldest one, the horses, when she's 3.
Mhm.
And there are some details that give it that certainty. For instance, she says her father came running back with a knife in his teeth. It's that kind of detail that makes this so vibrant and real. And then the next line, he jumped into the river with all his clothes on. So we know what that small child is taking in,
Yeah.
and it makes it makes it more certain. It makes it very, very alive.
Oh, great. Great. Yeah, I mean it is amazing that that certain memories, certain very, very, very specific memories really just stay. They're just there all the time. And, could she tell me what she had for breakfast that morning? Probably not. but she still had that picture in her mind of her father, whom I never met, who died before I was born, and who was quite a dynamic character in that story about him rescuing the horses with the knife in his teeth and jumping into the water with all his clothes on. Just, fits everything I ever heard about my grandfather. But I didn't know him myself. I have, I think, maybe two pictures of him.
So two characters are being created at once, your
Yeah.
mother and her father.
And her father.
Simultaneously, we learn about both of them.
Yeah.
This is like a play. The business about the one sentence things.
Yeah.
It could be on the stage, someone speaking it, and it's very dramatic. And because it's based on speech, it's right in the oral tradition of poetry, which makes it fabulous, I think.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you. Mike? Thank you, Dory.
You're welcome.
Mike.
Yeah. So I've had to be absent once or twice during the meeting. I was wondering if anyone had spoken about the cat yet.
Briefly.
Okay.
But what were you that doesn't
Well,
prevent you from
the cat and the horses. I mean, as far as a consciousness having put this poem together, I find them as being very fictional, sort of elements. Our group, with parents having passed or ourselves preparing that way. Donald Hall said poetry is the study of death, but we're dying. But we focused a lot on the speaker and the speaker, where the speaker is in life. The two animals, I think, are just very curious in that respect of being, well, the horse is one and the cat the other, as being mortal entities, less in tune to the spirit. However, in a weird twist, they face the terrible situations. One wanders off and disappears, as it were, and the horses, in a very dramatic moment for a sort of a mulling or gradual poem that it is, and a very patient poem, it's a very dramatic moment. So I'm taking this not so much as gospel of your mother's, one of your mother's final memories, Lloyd. I'm taking this as a poem, as a structure with its imagery. And I see the fact of the cat disappearing and then coming back as a sign. If we have a disappearing speaker, that, like the cat, she will circle back around somewhere, um, of her disappearance. And the horse is also, I think it's an accentuation of the drama, the intensity of the oncoming of death. But I'm reading this the way maybe, a literary person would. I'm reading this as,
heaven forbid.
well, yeah, I'm reading it as a poem. So I like the animals. I like that they're, Uh, yeah, I mean, it makes it dramatic. The horse episode, and as real as this probably was, because I remember my dad I took the safety brake off of a car when I was 2 years old in the passenger seat, and the car was at a slant. My dad, like a superhero, came running, opened that door, leapt into the car, and stopped it before I backed a lone kid into streaming traffic.
Wow.
It was a superhero event,
Yeah.
But that's what your mother's father with the knife in his teeth. I mean, it's like Johnny Depp. It's like the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's super. And I think the animal existence philosophically exhilarates us with its mortality, but it's also its narrow escapes. It survives. You have two stories of survival in these mute animals, that I think is very adequate to how I've through my own Phoenix spiritual life, I mean, it seems very adequate. So I wanted to bring that sort of the energy I felt from the animal appearances, their terror, their reappearances. A cat's never in. I mean, preferably a cat's always in control, right? I mean, he disappears and then he just comes sauntering back right at the house you've moved to, and
Yeah.
so that's perfect. But so that's what I got from the reading, Lloyd.
Thank you.
We have Hume and
Oh,
Catherine.
Hume. Yes, please. Hume.
Yeah, I had to unmute.
Okay.
So
Good.
Lloyd, I've heard you read this poem, I think, 3 times now, and each time I just absolutely love it. And what I particularly like is the action, of course, of the saving of the horses. And one thing that I don't think anyone has mentioned, which is at that point your mother enters the action. She sort of, you know, uh, becomes an active participant in the story, trotting across the muddy tracks or whatever it is as a 3-year-old to summon her father. I just wanted to mention that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. That little moment turns up in another one of these poems in which she takes even more credit for saving the horses. And I say, "Oh, you told me that story." And she said, "The ones that nearly drowned, I saved them." And she did, of course, but um, she thinks of herself at some point. She thought of herself as even more of the sort of pearl white silent movie heroine who saved the horses. And oh, who is
Me.
Oh, yes, please. Yes.
2 things. You were
Please.
very careful to say Morris. What did your mother sound like? Did she have an accent? Did she sound like you?
Oh, I never thought she had an accent, but I think she actually had a kind of New York accent because
New York, not Yiddish.
she spoke Yiddish, but no, she had an American. She sounded like an American.
Like you.
And well, yeah, I mean that's probably where
Yeah.
where I get it. And none of her siblings sounded American.
Huh.
They all sounded Eastern European, ish. And my mother, who is the youngest of her siblings, was really a kind of substitute parent for her nieces and nephews because she was the American in the family. She was the one who understood what it was like to be an American teenager because she had been an American teenager herself. And their parents hadn't a clue. All they could think of was that, well, this is what how children are supposed to act in the old country.
The other observation is I've known 3 good writers, and every one of them, when they tells a story, tells it exactly in the same words, exactly. And as a listener, I go, how come you didn't say more or less or heavy or light? They don't. It's the story, and in that way, your mother did save the horses. You know?
Yeah. I don't want to keep you too long because some of us might be going off to
March.
march or rally or
A bunch of people have just raised their hands before it's too late. Mike,
okay, good.
John, we'll let.
So okay, Mike, and then who
John
else
P.
was?
John
Oh,
P.
great. Okay.
I
So
don't know.
Mike and then John.
I don't know when this is supposed to finish, but if we have extra time, I would love to hear you read some of the other poems in the series.
Thank you. Let's see. I did want to finish a little early today because I know people are eager to rush off and have their voices heard. John.
Yeah, I had a curious experience this morning and I read the poem. And it's the line, and while I was watching the rains, I got caught around a pole in the river. And when I read it quickly, one word after the other, and I just got caught in there. And I wondered why you didn't put surround that phrase while I was watching the rains, commas, why you didn't put them there. When you read the poem, you put a pause after rains, and it seemed very
Oh, I did.
deliberate.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Huh. I that wasn't intentional. No, I hear it. And while I was watching, the rains got caught.
Yeah.
But I try not to read mechanically, so I hope it's a little different each time. But
Well, I don't want to sound as if I'm from the comma police.
oh no, but I admire that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I didn't want, I know that I didn't want these poems to look too written. I wanted them to, I wanted to hear my mother's voice, not a letter that she was writing to me. So it's something like that. So these poems tend to have a little less punctuation than the rest of my poems often do. Mary, yeah.
Oops. Yeah, I know we're kind of moving along quickly, but I just wanted to give the end a minute or whatever, a couple
Oh, sure.
seconds of time because we haven't really talked about the last few lines and
Right.
just what an absolute whatever slam dunk they are. And of course, we know the answer, but we could never put it into words. Why should it make me cry? I just can't get over what you do there at the end of the poem. And I just wanted to, because I love this so much, I just have to say the best horses. Is it the best horses in the town? Yeah. The best is so perfect there. And we hear the child, we're like zoomed back into that family assessment or wherever it came from, that these
Yeah.
are the best two horses in town. I just love that moment. So anyway,
Thank you.
such a wonderful poem.
Thank you. Thank you. I it occurs to me to tell you the line in the poem, and I can remember I can remember my mother's saying it. The line that kind of gets to me when I read the poem, and that it's really very hard to read it without without breaking up, is then it all comes back. You wake up, you get up, it's forgotten. It's like a dream. You get up, it's forgotten. Then it all comes back. And that just seems so heartbreaking to me. Even, it doesn't always come back, but she thinks it does. And it's a kind of, it's an odd response to a dream, and it's a response that I have had, but not consistently, where I wake up and I've completely forgotten the dream, and then it all comes back. I don't know, Bill, what can you tell us about dreams and memory?
Sorry, who are you asking?
I'm asking Bill Bennett.
Oh, good.
Sorry, you are both you're both my Bills.
Well, both dreams and memories are constructed. They're not things that lie there flat like a book waiting to be opened. And so they're both reliable and unreliable in their respective ways. And both tend to get layered. One of the layered things in this poem, of course, is that the history doesn't come back. She's remembering a world that doesn't exist anymore. And that I find quite moving in the poem. Not only is it geographic, obviously, from the old world to Pittsfield, but just history's gone. My grandparents had a livery stable. There were horses.
Oh,
there are no more horses.
Yeah, my grandfather was a harness maker.
Yep.
And had his own stable.
So it's not only her own life that's behind her, but a world that's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all that's left is memory, constructed, even if it's constructed from history books. It's put together.
Yeah. Well, I think I should let you go as my civic duty obliges me to. And thank you for your kindness and insights. And I always learn something from you about the poems that I thought I knew everything about. And I have to say, even my own poems, you've given me new things to think about, and I'm so grateful to you, and thank you for letting me read the poem. I know I kind of force these things on you, but hope that you don't mind, and it's even more so if I'm reading one of my own poems. And thank you so much for taking the time, especially today. Thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd. That was really beautiful.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, Marita, as always, for letting these things happen. And then we're going to have our next meeting very soon, aren't we?
We are next Saturday, so I hope you guys can join us.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I hope I can find a poem.
No, not next Saturday. Not next Saturday.
But yeah, well, maybe next Saturday. No, I mean, maybe next Saturday, I will take you up on your request to read one more poem from this series, but that won't be the poem we're gonna talk about. It. I promise you, it will be by someone else.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you too.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Lloyd. Take care, everyone.